here, and I'm going to
We have sign in and sign out. This one is a sign in. I don't know whether it's still too late, but those of you who came in late, you can just scan this. This is a sign in right here. So if you already signed in, then no need to sign in. Okay?
Hey everyone.
Does this work?
So I know you guys are really tired right now, so I'm going to keep this as informal as possible. Thank you to UTAR and of course Kevin here who invited me. And today I'm going to speak about probably more to indie game development, because just now I did the questions, the feedback from the students, and now I have to adapt based on your feedback. So I would like to know how many of you guys have been to my talks before? Like I think I spoke 2 times. Oh, just quite a few. Not many of you guys. So I guess I have to do the intro again. Let's speak about adaptability, right? Based on feedback, I think a lot of people are saying like maybe when you came and you expected something, then that's not what you expected, and sometimes you have to adapt as a game entrepreneur and as someone who wants to make it in this life. Now, I didn't come from a rich family, okay, guys? So I had to work my way up as an indie game developer, and I got funding from friends, school, and family. So so one is a friend of mine as well. But he did bring up something really, really interesting. Fantasy, right? And it all started with fantasy because when I was young, right, I was always bullied by everyone. Okay? The small kids, they got bullied by everyone. So I always wanted to run off to another world. And my fantasy is actually to go to space. So in order to go to space, I need to be able to be at the forefront of technology. And game development has always been at the forefront of technology. So for me, that's why I actually got into game development. Okay, so today, since many of you have not heard my story before, and just a few of you have heard the previous talks that I gave, I will actually repeat some of that. So apologies to those of you who have already heard. So a quick introduction to myself. I have been in game development in 1999. Since 1999, I have worked on games such as Scribblenauts, Drawn to Life, for publishers like Warner Brothers, Activision, I can't even remember, THQ, Disney, Nickelodeon, all the big names, okay? Worked on over like 30 games. Some of them are game source packs. And I also made my own intellectual property with Alpha Kimori. And that is actually the first Malaysian game on Steam. So the thing is, I want to tell you guys like how I made that journey. Okay, like some of you guys already know because of your previous attendance. But how I did it was, when I was at university, I decided to join a online game development team. Okay, this is in the US, but I was based in Malaysia, and I did everything I could to make that a success, right? I even incorporated the company for them in the United States, okay? At the time, they were not actually incorporated, so I went to study about that, and I incorporated the company for them, and we made actually like an MMORPG, which we approached Microsoft to publish. I know we like a bunch of school kids, but we managed to brand ourselves to look really good, okay? And you would actually, if you Google us, Google Field Sales, you would be able to see that we work with a lot of big brands because we actually went for the events. I had my partners go to the events in the United States, and we got noticed by some of these big publishers who took a chance on us. Of course, we started with very, very small games first. And I think one of the first games was like, it's an unknown brand on the mobile J2ME platform. Okay, then we got something from THQ. Then we worked on a game that starred Jim Carrey at the time. That was called Lemony Snicket. He made a movie. So we got the opportunity to work on that game. Of course, at first we got a really low funding, but then we continued to work on games like SEAL Team 6. We worked on games like MotoGP. Then we worked on music games as well. I can't remember the name right now. But the point was we slowly built up gradually, okay? And we adapted as we go. It was not easy, okay? And of course, when you are in a team, there are always arguments, okay? And I'm sure you guys have experienced that in your studies right now. And some of you have told me that sometimes you don't collaborate with the right people and then arguments occur, right? So I feel that that's part of your journey. You will learn and you have to adapt. That is our specialty as human beings, right? We have to adapt according to the situation. Like right now, I'm speaking to you guys impromptu. That's how I like to do it. What I would like to say is that sometimes, right, you have to keep to that fantasy, as Mohan was saying, right? Why do you want to develop games? Think about it and really reflect on it, because that's what guides you, right? So I work on those games, and suddenly Warner Brothers decided to fund us, right? I say suddenly, but it's not really sudden. But it was like a 60 million US dollars kind of funding. So we worked on Scribblenauts, which was really popular. And then, as I mentioned before, there was an argument. You can actually see that online as well. I left the company, I sold my shares, I was one of the co-founders, but it was not stated on the website. But I sold my shares, that was the founder shares, and then I got out. And then I worked on my own company, Sherman 3D, okay? And Sherman 3D was also an outsourcing company. I really built up the team. So we continued on like working on games and getting projects from Disney, Nickelodeon, and of course, I also worked, because I was a programmer at the time, I was very technical, and I totally focused on making my own game engine called the Sherman 3D game engine. That was actually a game engine that was made using C++. So I went into, I said I wanted to go to space, and I wanted to be at the forefront of tech. So I programmed the artificial intelligence myself, I programmed the physics myself, I programmed the 3D rendering myself, even the music system, the sound system, whatever, I just put it in and I focused on tech. I was so lucky to meet at the time Hasno at MLAC. He helped to actually fund the first prototype for Alpha Kimori, which was very tech-based, it's completely 3D. But I want to say that sometimes, even with that tech demo, it's really hard to get funding because my dream was too big, right? So that's where I found a mentor, a teacher, and you guys probably need someone for a mentor, okay? Currently right now, she is actually my protege. She asked to be my Padawan, so I'm very proud of that. I actually helped her to build her own games, and also now to help you guys with game publishing and IP commercialization, right? Okay, so we have already talked to some of the students, and that's part of, I think that's a legacy that I want to leave on, especially with Kang Yi heading it. The ability to teach people to adapt, to be game entrepreneurs. how you guys can actually make games that sell, because it's not about tech, right? So let me just continue back to my story again. I digress. So I found this lady. Her name is Amanda Fish, and Amanda was a game developer who made Avion. It's a very popular RPG maker game, but most people at the time did not make money using RPG Maker, but she was the only one who made money using RPG Maker. So when I moved to Canada, I got permanent residence in Canada at the time. She came up to see me from Seattle, and she told me, like, you know, you have a very good story, but you're focusing too much on tech. Because I told her the story of Alpha Kimori. Then she told me, like, you have to just change your perspective. You have to focus on things that people want. And what do people actually want that I'm good at? I'm good at writing stories. So I wrote the story for Alpha Kimori and transferred it into the RPG Maker engine, right? Because Amanda is my friend, she managed to help to do some introductions to Big Fish games. And at the time, Alpha Kimori was marketed to a demographic that I didn't expect, which was like 40 plus years old women who actually had a lot of disposable income, and they wanted to play games that reminded them of their past, like JRPGs, right? So I made Alpha Kimori for that purpose at the time, and I actually managed to sell Alpha Kimori to this demographic. Then I got into Steam based on that because it was already established. So what I did at that time, which Amanda helped me with, is to approach publishers like Amazon at the time. We actually sold on AOL, American Online, and we actually sold on Shockwave, which was really popular at the time. And a lot of really like, you know, there's Encyclopedia Britannica as well. You don't expect them to sell games, but they do sell games at the time. So when we got that, a lot of journalists picked up on it. So when a lot of journalists pick up on it, the branding of the game manages to like leverage on it and then get pushed like a rocket. And we managed to sell and get some publicity for it. Of course, it's still an indie game, but at the time I was also working with a company called Butterfly, which was a spin-off from Sony and IBM. So I created the game engine for them based on the Shaman 3D engine, which I worked on for my uni project. Again, when I was studying in uni, it was an IT course and not a game course. So I picked up game development by myself. And of course, like you guys were complaining, some like before this with the feedback, that maybe what you learn is not so relevant. But I feel that you have to adapt and you have to learn yourself. Like, how do you pick up on skills that you require to be successful as an entrepreneur in life? And I think that is part of the journey that I went through. Again, I want to share with you guys. I love sharing. And you know, you can keep this interactive as well. If you have any questions, feel free to raise your hands. Ask them while I'm speaking because I'm narrating my story, okay? So the thing is, I'm a person who's like Peter Pan. I try to be young at heart, okay? And I have tried a lot of things besides being a game developer. When I moved to Canada, I was an energy healer. When I was young, I was a martial artist and I learned a lot of energy healing as well. So when I moved to Canada, I became an energy healer. I tried to study traditional Chinese medicine. And then I decided to actually close my company because I wanted to experience working for other people and I wanted to see how other game companies do game publishing. So I went to Tokyo, Japan, and I worked for this GREE-funded company. So GREE was one of the biggest game publishers for mobile games at the time in Japan. They have a platform called Mobile Game, and I created social card battle games. I worked on that and I discovered the whole different viewpoint, the whole different production pipeline. I mean, you guys mentioned that you're not learning about production pipeline here. The thing is that a lot of companies don't follow those sort of production pipelines, right? Follow the Scrum production pipeline. And we had mini teams working on different things. So whenever the company has less projects, those teams will split up and form companies of their own. So it's a very, very different concept. I don't think Malaysians will accept that because it gives a lot of freedom to the producer. So the producer is someone who is like running their own company in the company I was working with in Japan. So I felt that was a very unique perspective that I only got from traveling the world and learning from different people and adapting to their way and their culture and their ability to do things differently, I guess. For me, I also learned from the Western Canadian culture of how to be open, how to speak to people. I think that's very important. And you just have to keep your mind open and be able to accept different things and be able to, Mohan and Arif already talked about working for companies, game development companies. For me, I work in those game development companies and I always don't feel like I want to be like a cogwheel in a huge machine. Okay, maybe that's just me. I know a lot of you guys want to work in game development companies, but Mohan and Arif already did a very good introduction on that. So for me, I'm speaking to those of you who want to be indie game developers. Okay, if you want to be an indie game developer and you don't have a lot of money like me, you can actually go and explore the entire world. Okay, of course, like I said, at the beginning, you need to take a bit of sacrifices, right? I was really, really stressed at the time. Okay, until today, I still suffer from acid reflux. I'm sure it built up from all the way there and then just got worse after COVID. But right now, I have acid reflux, and that's also because of stress. But I will tell you guys that it's really stressful trying to feed the people in your company, okay? Especially if you really care about them, and I really care about the people in the company, and treat them like very close, I would say family, but I think some people misinterpret that. So treat them as very, very close friends that I really want to help. And this applies to all you guys, right? Those of you who actually want to be indie game developers, please do reach out to me and Gani here, so we can actually help you along the way. And sometimes it's just, you don't need like someone to give you a fish, but you need someone to teach you how to fish. And I think that's a very appropriate quote coming from my mentor who worked with Big Fish Games. And after Big Fish Games, I think that really changed my life. And then I decided to explore the world. And after exploring the world, I decided to get into Web3. So for those of you who were with me during the previous speeches that I gave, over here, I went into the Web3 world. Okay? I feel that Web3 allows me to travel the world more, to get to know people who are out of the system. And as you guys know, I am actually super weird, so I do things that is not conventional, and I feel that Web3 allows me to explore that side of me more. And for those of you, because I know you came to game development for a reason, right? So you guys are creative. Right? Creative people always think out the box. Because you think out the box, you want to do something different. And I'm actually ambassador for Polkadot now, thanks to Lucy Golden, which is my friend who was the global director of Polkadot. She made me ambassador. And I'm not going to sell you guys Polkadot, but my point is that I work on like Polkadot to promote that blockchain, because you can actually get funding from Polkadot. You can get funding from VCs. You can get funding from many sources, whether you want that funding or not, right? And I talked to, I think one of the batches that just graduated on how to commercialize the intellectual property of their games. Unfortunately, they have already ended up working for some game development company. So for those of you who want to like open your own game development company, don't go out and work for other game companies yet. Okay? I know that's very unconventional advice, but be like me, do things unconventionally, because you need to fail fast and learn from your mistakes. I think that's the best way to learn. Just put yourself out there and really try to do something different from what other people have told you to do. Like, even my parents didn't actually want me to get into this, but I didn't really care. I did it my way anyway. So I went to do, like I traveled the world, and I have learned so much from different cultures. And I think it's very important that you guys learn from this, because I know nowadays, especially this generation, you guys are like always in front of your phones, in front of your computers, using artificial intelligence. But there's a whole huge world out there, right? And when you go and travel the world, you get to experience different things, talk to different people, see different cultures. You even get to develop games that are not conventional. I think that's very important, right? For me, it's not just about the game itself. It's the story I'm telling, and that story comes from my experience as I explore the world, right? And I feel that it's important for you guys to be able to have that experience itself, right? And like I said, a lot of you guys don't know that you can actually start your own company right now on Web3 and get funded by any of the blockchains that you choose. Right? Because they actually want content. So when you create content on your blockchain, you get funded by them, but it's a bit unconventional because you are funded usually in their tokens. Okay? But that is equivalent to real money. You can convert it out, but you just have to learn how to do it. Right? Of course, it's also unconventional in the sense that these days, especially in the Web3 community, we don't really like offices. So we don't really like companies. We have DAOs, which are like not centralized and is decentralized. So it can be anywhere in the world. You can travel everywhere in the world, and when you travel everywhere in the world, you get to meet a certain group of people who believe in the same philosophy as well. And that's where I think some of them are also considered VCs in the Web3 space, and they do have a lot of funding and funds to help you achieve that dream. I know a community who lives in Bali, for example. They live in the forest and they have put Wi-Fi there. They created their own like non-city community to have their tropical paradise. Okay, most of them are from the west, and they have moved to Bali, for example. Malaysia, I think there's Forest City. Okay. But that one charges a bit. So if you want like a free place for incubation, for example, there's a ACC in Oakland Road. You guys can have like an office there with a gym and all the provided facilities to help you achieve your dreams as a game developer. Okay. Of course, all this requires you to have connections, and Gami and I can help you guys to actually get those connections, right? And of course, I'll be straightforward, right, up with you guys. It's going to be on a commission basis, so we're not going to charge you upfront, but we will take a commission based on what you have published. So we actually become like sort of like a shareholders, and we are going to sign an MOU with UTAR to accomplish that. But it's taken us some time because, like I said, I'm involved in a lot of things, and I think it's all based on passion. And I think it's important for you guys as well to see what your passion is about, like what are you really passionate about, and why do you do what you do every day. And of course, as game developers, you are creative people, use that creativity to achieve something that will be influential to the world. Okay? I think, I think that's about it. And you can, find me online, search on LinkedIn. You can Google me, Sherman Chin. I'm on Wikipedia as well. So I forgot to mention, I was on Wall Street Journal, USA Today, New York Times because of that collaboration with that IBM spin-off company. So if you do achieve something that is really different, then you get that legacy, I guess. But just always stay humble and help everyone along the way. All right. Thank you so much. And if you guys have any questions,
Questions? Anyone?
How long were you in indie development?
Sorry?
How long were you in indie development, like yourself? Or were you alone? Were you with people at the start?
So when I started, it was a really, really small team. Like I said, there was this US company that I worked with. So we went on to form Fifth Star. Before that, it was Epix Interactive. And then it's very funny, I actually had the Sherman 3D domain because I think one of them was saying that I was using Epix Interactive Research.net and getting a community online based on what we have done before, and one of the ex-co-founders was telling me that you can't do that. So I was like, okay, and now I just maybe Sherman 3D based on my game engine. So I think I did indie game development for about more than 10 years. Yeah, more than 10 years. Then I decided to explore other things, working for other companies. And now I'm sort of like a mentor, indie developer again. So working with companies again. Anybody else? Okay, if there are no more questions, if you guys are indie game developers, please, one more question. Yes.
How did you start as an indie developer? How did you get publishing money?
Sorry?
When you started out, how did you manage to publish and market?
Publish and market my games. Okay, so how I managed to publish and market my games as an indie game developer, as I mentioned before in my talk, I have this mentor, her name is Amanda, right? And she helped to do some introductions in the US for me to Big Fish Games. Okay, the first one was like my huge, big publisher as my own IP to push it was Big Fish Games. Yeah, it was not Steam, right? It was actually, my IP was actually not fitted for Steam because I actually made it for Big Fish Games for women 40 years and above. So it's a bit different. So if you guys want to find publishers, then it really depends on your situation. That's why Kangi and I are actually helping you guys if you want to approach different publishers that we know of, and we will help you to commercialize your intellectual property. I mean, that's the topic of our talk, and I know I didn't focus so much on that because I know you guys still want to do that intellectual property first, and hopefully we can help you. Other questions?
Going once, going twice. No? Okay, so big round of applause to Mr. Sherman. Okay, and then